Alright, I am here. I played like 2 hours of Legend ZA. That was all I managed to get to play. Played like 1 hour last night, and I played 1 hour this morning. So, that makes me completely qualified as to whether the game is worth buying or not. Gonna be taking down some Pokemon Go gyms while I am doing this, but I mean, that's pretty mindless, so whatever. Talk about Pokemon while I'm playing a different Pokemon game. So anyways. So Legends ZA came out. I wasn't even sure if I was actually going to get my copy yesterday because I pre-ordered it from the Pokemon Center, which I'll get back to in a minute, but I pre-ordered it from the Pokemon Center. And sometimes they don't deliver it on time. I got my Legends Arceus copy on the same day it came out, and I got my Arceus plush with it because that was why I pre-ordered it from there. You got a free, like, little sitting Arceus plush, and I was like, hell yeah. But I wasn't sure if it was gonna come on time this time because literally up until like the day before, it just said my order was processing. And I was like, what? It's just processing? There's one day till it fucking comes out. And so I wasn't sure if I was actually gonna get it or not. And kind of was leaning towards it's probably not coming, so I'm probably gonna. Oh, my item bag's full. I was leaning towards it. I'm probably not gonna be playing it that much anyway because of work, so it's not that big of a deal. But then it did actually show up. It said the order was completed. The day, I think it was the day before, and it said it was gonna come. So I was like, hell yeah, okay. So I was excited. And yeah, it showed up yesterday while I was recording my last video. So that was, I forgot that those Amazon trucks, they have a really weird like sound when they back up. Because I mean they're electric. So I guess they make different noises than a gas powered car. I don't know. But like it's weird just hearing like that like it almost sounds like a crow or something. You don't realize that means like they're backing up, and then like when a fucking big truck backs up, it like does the beeping, and like you know it's a truck backing up. Then again, I guess that's just kind of ingrained into our brains or whatever. So maybe it's not really that intuitive. But anyways, back to Pokemon. I got my copy, and I wanted to originally pre-order it earlier because it came with a plush. It came with a plush of one of the 3 starters randomly. And I was really wanting to do that. And literally the day I went to pre-order, they just ran out of like pre-order stock. So I was like, fuck me. So I didn't know what I was gonna do. And then eventually they were like, oh, we got another round of pre-orders, but this time you get a pin of one of the 3 starters. So I was like, you know what, I'll do it. I'll do that. There were some other like decent pre-order offers. Like I think Best Buy, you got like this fucking gaming mat or whatever. Something like that. It was funny. I've never heard it referred to as a gaming mat before, but yeah. But so I got that. I got that pin, and I was really hoping that it just at least wasn't Totodile, because I like Chikorita, and I like Tepig. Tepig's like one of my favorite starters. And I was just like, please don't be Totodile. That's all. That's the only thing I really want. I'm not a huge fan of Totodile. I don't like Totodile. But I I was really hoping, and then I opened it, and I saw the Tepig and I was like, oh my god, let's fucking go. I was so happy to see that. Thank God. So that was cool. It was worth pre-ordering it from the Pokemon Center. But then I didn't actually get to play the game because then I had to go to work. And I had a very difficult day at work because my coworker called out. So it was me and another guy who hasn't worked the night shift in like 3 years. And he was only there until like an hour and 30 minutes before my shift ended. So it was kind of a lot on me. And they were pretty lenient with me because, you know, it's kind of a weird situation. I've only been there like 2 months, so it's a weird situation for me to be in. Usually there's always somebody helping me, and I mean, even then, we're kind of low on help as it is because realistically it's a job for like 3 or 4 people, and we're doing it with 2 people, so. But, this video is not really about work, so. Basically, the whole point in me saying that is that I was tired from yesterday. I worked so hard. And so when I got home, I got some of the things I needed to get done quickly. And then I was like, you know, I'm going to play some Legends ZA. So I played for an hour. And to be honest, it is kind of just a bit of like tutorial city, you know. There's a lot of just dialogue and text, which gets a little boring. But I did at least find it enjoyable, and it's a different sort of thing because I feel like Pokemon has become so formulaic over the years that now they're trying to do something different. Like they did that in Legends Arceus, they did it in Scarlet and Violet, and they're doing it in this game too. But they're just trying to make it different because it's kind of gets boring when it's just you're this kid and then you go and you get the 8 gym badges and you do the Elite Four and you save the world or some shit, and that's it. So this time at least it was kind of just a different thing. I respected it. I'm enjoying it so far, and I think, to me personally, the one thing I really, really like about the game is that it doesn't feel the same way Legends Arceus did, which I know some people were very unhappy about because they liked Legends Arceus, and now they're like, this isn't the game that I want. But I think, in general, the thing I really like about these Legends games is that they're trying to experiment. They're not trying to do the same thing over and over again. And so like there's more of an emphasis on battling and that sort of thing, because also the battle mechanics are completely changed, which I think is pretty cool because I thought it was interesting in Legends Arceus, but it never really felt like it never really felt that much of a departure. Like, there was a little bit of a departure from those original battling mechanics, but it feels way different in this game. And I think that's a very good thing because I wanted it to feel different. So that is really cool. Trying to think of what else. I mean, I guess the whole like rank system, I don't really know how it works though. I don't know if it's gonna be like a grind to get there. I mean, it seems like the story's kind of focused around it. I don't know. But I think it's cool. I think it's an interesting setting because, like, on the one hand, it is, I guess, a little disappointing because Legends Arceus was cool because it kind of showcased a lot of the earlier history of like Sinnoh and that sort of thing. So you got to see the like Snow Point Temple, for example. Oh, Mega Mawile. I'm definitely doing that. Snow Point Temple and like the early Jubilife City, that sort of thing. And that was cool in its own way. And this game kind of does that, but I also find this game's kind of point in history interesting because it's not old fashioned, because in Arceus they had to pull a lot of kind of weird things. It's kind of like, yeah, God just drops you in this world with a phone. You know? Like, I mean, it makes sense why they did it, but also nobody understands what the fuck a phone is in that time period, you know? But in this game, everybody has phones and there's like hologram technology and all this sort of stuff. So it is sort of a futuristic type of game, but it's also set in the past before playing like X and Y, which is an interesting take, and I like it because it kind of gives the game its unique identity. Doesn't just make it feel like, yeah, we're doing the thing where you go in the past again, everything is old fashioned. It's like, no, it feels modern, but still kind of tries to tell the story that X and Y didn't really get to do, because that's one of the big things I was excited for when I saw they were doing this, because it's like, I don't like X and Y because of a lot of the problems that exist in X and Y. And I feel like ultimately the big problem that those games had was that they ran out of time to really make the games good, because they were so focused on trying to have this big graphical leap. So they were trying to make it so they had all these 3D models and all these 3D locations. It was a big emphasis on the graphics, and then obviously they had to make like all 600 whatever Pokemon in 3D, which is a big challenge when before it was just pixel art sprites. But they kind of didn't really focus on the game that much because of that, which I think that's really what held that back ultimately. And I wasn't sure how they were going to incorporate a lot of stuff into this game. I didn't know if they were going to go for a lot of that like historical thing, or if it was just going to be its own thing. But so far I think it has been pretty interesting, pretty exciting. And I think this really gives a chance for a lot of what was missing in X and Y. Because this is something I was talking about with people who never played X and Y, because they mostly were playing Go. And they didn't play a lot of those games. They didn't play like Black and White or Black and White 2 or X and Y or Sun and Moon, those things. They played like the recent ones, and then they played like Red and Blue and that sort of stuff. And so I was telling them that Zygarde, like, you know, I think I said something like, you know, I never really cared that much about Zygarde. Oh, because we were talking about Zygarde cells in Go, because they're kind of a pain to get. They take a long time to get. But I was basically saying I didn't really care if my Zygarde was like in the complete form, because I just don't really care. I never cared about it that much. And I mentioned in X and Y, it's literally just in a random cave, which I guess is true for certain Pokemon. Like, for example, Mewtwo is in just a random cave, and Kyurem is in a random cave. But like, those kind of get more expanded upon lore. Maybe there is some expanded upon lore on Zygarde. There probably is some that they did when they like put it in Alola and whatever else. But it just kind of always felt like this weird legendary to me, that where it's just like, yep, it's just in a random cave and there's no lore, and like there's nothing really that interesting about the cave either, from what I remember. There's like, it's just kind of a cave. And like I think you can catch a Noibat in there or something. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been so long since I played X and Y. But I think that's like an example where it's like they just didn't have enough time to make these games as interesting as they could have been. And this is really their chance to do something good. But other than that aspect of it, the other things I mainly want to talk about are, I would actually like to talk a little bit about the graphics, because I do not have a Switch 2, so I am playing the game on Switch 1, which I'll probably be showing the footage. So I guess you can make the judgments yourself. But I was honestly kind of surprised when I booted the game up. Load times do not feel that bad, which is good. I mean, there is like some load times and stuff, but they can be pretty brief. And I was like genuinely kind of surprised sometimes when the game would load and then like 1 or 2 seconds later, it's like, boom, you know, you're in a cutscene or whatever. And it's like, wow. I felt like load times used to be a lot worse in previous Pokemon games. So that is a nice thing. And additionally, I just feel like the game actually looks really good for a Switch 1 game. I was a little scared that it was going to be, you know, optimized for Switch 2, and it was going to run 60 FPS, you know, pretty good graphics on the Switch 2. And then meanwhile, Switch 1, it would just be this slideshow, total mess, pixelated everything. That was kind of my worry. But I feel like this is probably the best looking Pokemon game they've released, probably since Let's Go Pikachu Eevee, which those games were kind of meant to be better art style wise because they're more cartoony and simplistic instead of going for the look that they've been doing in the past couple Pokemon games. But I think this game looks pretty good. I'm not going to say it looks perfect, but I think it looks pretty good. Holds a pretty good frame rate. I didn't really feel like it was dropping many frames or stuttering or anything that much. And it feels pretty big and open too. It doesn't feel like it is... it doesn't feel like they're trying to cut things to optimize the game so that it runs well. It just feels like it just runs well from the get-go, which is very good, in my opinion. That we definitely need that in Pokemon games. It definitely feels like they took their time with this game. I will say, because I wanted to talk about the environment specifically, because I know one of the things that a lot of people were upset about with this game is that they were like, it takes place in a city, that's it? And initially I was a little like concerned about that too. I was like, are they really going to be able, like, is this going to be in Lumiose City, that's it? But I think they did a pretty good job with it. And this is something that I kind of felt a lot with, for example, like Mario 64, Mario Odyssey especially, is the thing I love about those games is that they're not like these big open world games. Like a lot of people really like Breath of the Wild. I can never get into Breath of the Wild. And I feel like part of the reason is because it is just this open world, which I know open world stuff, there tends to be these little points where you can go and it's like, okay, here's some, you know, sort of enemy encampment. Here's some sort of structure that you can go to and all that. But the world always just feels so barren to me. That was always kind of the way it felt in Breath of the Wild. And part of that is supposed to be that you have this big open landscape that you can just venture and explore and find every little thing. But to me, I find that there's a lot more value in quality over just quantity. I would much rather have a smaller sort of area, but it is packed with a bunch of interesting locations and things to do, instead of it being this fucking this just flat open place, but there's not really a lot that is distinct and interesting. And in Arceus there was a fair amount of that, and I think in Arceus it was kind of okay, because there were a lot of points where it was like, this is kind of early history of what would become Sinnoh later on. So I didn't entirely mind it. But I think this game, it feels like there's a lot more interesting places to explore. It doesn't feel like it's just this flat slab of land. It doesn't feel like you're playing a Minecraft super flat world and you're just hoping to find a village. It feels like you're playing a game where you have all these little nooks and crannies and places to go. It feels like the city is more lived in. And that's something that I really like, for example, in Mario 64 and Mario Odyssey, is that these are kind of like small little sandboxes. They're not these big open areas. Like, I mean, I guess you compare it to like Ocarina of Time or something, for example. Like Ocarina of Time has these big open fields. You can ride your horse around, and it's exciting and whatever. But I never got into Ocarina of Time. And meanwhile, I was a big fan of Mario 64. I love Mario 64. And that's because those little sandboxes it feels like there's so much jam-packed into those that they're distinct. Like, you remember every little bit of those levels. You remember all the little parts on Rainbow Ride or Bob-omb Battlefield or whatever in Mario Odyssey, right? You remember all those little parts of Wooded Kingdom and Cap Kingdom, Ruined Kingdom, even though it's a very small place. There's still kind of a couple little interesting things in it. Bowser's Kingdom, that sort of thing. It feels like there's so much stuff kind of jam-packed into it that everything feels distinct. And when you play a game like Breath of the Wild, for example, nothing feels kind of distinct, or like not that much feels distinct. Everything feels like it just kind of blends in with each other. And that's the problem that I ultimately just have with that game. And I guess Zelda games in general. That was actually another thing I'd like to talk about someday, because I just feel like I can never get into Zelda games, like ever. They just kind of feel boring to me. And I think also part of the problem I have with those games, you try to do something and then you forget what you were doing. Like, you stop playing, you forget what you were doing when you come back the next time. I think you have to like spend 20 minutes trying to figure out, like, what the hell was I doing? Like, where was I going? What am I doing? And then you just kind of don't really want to play the game anymore. Like, that's why I can never get into Breath of the Wild. And to bring it back to Pokemon, I feel like this game really, it feels good to play because there's a bunch of more distinct areas. And I feel like it's going to be a lot more fun exploring the city than exploring some flat, piece of land, basically. I know people are like, oh, the wild zones or whatever. I think the wild zone thing is kind of overblown, because a lot of people were like bitching about the wild zones because it's like, oh, that's like the only place you can get Pokemon, but it's like there are Pokemon on the rooftops and just kind of in the streets and stuff, but it's like the wild zones are more of like focused kind of areas, I guess. And I don't know. I think the whole kind of city thing is a little overblown when it comes to that. I I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but that's why I waited for the game to come out before I really made a judgment on that. Because I feel like it's honestly pretty enjoyable. So that to me is something that I'm really excited about, is just exploring the city. And the one thing I will say when I'm mentioning exploring the city is, man, I wish I could explore the city more, because one of my favorite parts of Scarlet and Violet is a lot of people will say, oh, like the first hour just fucking sucks. It's all dialogue. It's boring. I hated it and all that. But my first hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, of Scarlet and Violet, that shit was fun, because what I did, there is some dialogue you have to get through, but then you're like supposed to go to the school or whatever, and you go to the Pokemon Center and all that. There's like a Pokemon Center on the way, and you go to that Pokemon Center, and it's like, okay, yeah, you know, I'll meet you up ahead. And I was like, but there's an area back there. And so I just went back there, and there's this whole area that you can just explore. And I was just catching a bunch of Pokemon and like fighting trainers and stuff. And like, it was fun. Like that first hour, I was enjoying the hell out of the game. That was something I thought was really cool, because usually Pokemon is always so hand-holdy with things. And I liked that sense of freedom that you had just from like the get-go. It's like I haven't even been playing that long yet, and I don't even have Koraidon, so I can't even, you know, ride around very fast. But it was fun to just explore. And in this game, I probably will be able to do that eventually, but there are a lot of points where it's just, they're telling you, hey, don't go over there yet. You know, hey, come to Hotel Z. Hey, come to the Pokemon Center over here. And it's like, it's so annoying. There was even this one moment where I was trying to catch a Magikarp that I saw in the river. And so I'm trying to catch this Magikarp, and this bitch keeps going, hey, I'm waiting for you over here. And it's like, stop. I literally just need to move like 2 steps to catch this Magikarp, and I kept missing it. Which also, I guess, a little bit of another thing with this game, because for some reason you can't like aim the Pokeball, or at least I don't think you can. It just kind of locks on, which I guess makes it a little easier to hit. But sometimes you want to be able to like land those difficult shots. Like that was always one of the most fun things, was you would make like, I think there were like those feather balls or whatever in Legends Arceus. And you would like snipe stuff from like in the sky, and it was fucking awesome. Like when you see like there's this fucking Togekiss flying around, and you manage to snipe it with the fucking ball and catch it, it's like, oh my god, that was fucking awesome. And I'm guessing there's not really much of that in this game, unfortunately, which sucks, because I actually really like that aspect. And you can still miss your balls and stuff, but like, it's just, you can't actually aim. Or at least I haven't been able to figure out how to aim. I don't know, maybe there is a way, but I don't know. So yeah, not the biggest fan of that. But, and I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of the hand-holding that's kind of there early. But it is still pretty fun so far. I've been enjoying it. And the battles do feel actually pretty tough. It doesn't feel like you can just kind of get through super easily regardless of whatever. Like, you can't just pick your starter and just plow through the whole fucking game, because there's a lot that can just fucking destroy you. So, I've been enjoying that aspect so far. And I think there is still a lot I've yet to experience with the game. But currently, I think it's going to be a pretty fun experience. And Trying to think. Bunnelby is in the game, so that automatically does make it good. I love Bunnelby. I love Bunnelby too because it makes people mad. Like, nobody likes Bunnelby and Diggersby, and that's why I like it. But I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? I'm struggling to think of much else to really talk about in regards to the game. I think I got a lot of those thoughts out already. But I can't make a full judgment on the game just yet. But I am really enjoying it so far. I think it's going to be very fun. And I just got reminded, Hawlucha is also in this game. That's going to be exciting. I don't really like most Kalos Pokemon, but there's like a couple Kalos Pokemon I really like. Like Hawlucha and Diggersby. Both of those Pokemon. I like those Pokemon. So. Oh, there is actually one more thing that I wanted to mention a little bit that's a little disappointing to me. One of the things I really loved about Legends Arceus was that it wasn't just, okay, fill up the Pokedex. It was like, okay, you caught the Pokemon, now catch like fucking 20 more of them and, see it use this move this many times or something like that, or catch it from behind or whatever. And at first I was like, that seems like a lot of fucking work, but I actually really liked it. It felt interesting in a way. It's not just like, hey, you just catch this one and then it's just in your box and that's kind of it. It's like, I have to figure out how to do some of these things. And some of those things were tough. And some of them were like from special quests and all that. It was fucking awesome. It was awesome. And they unfortunately, or at least as of me playing it now, doesn't seem like they have it in this game, which is a little disappointing to me. Because that was a really big fun thing in Legends Arceus. And it's like, the shiny charm is still tied to that Pokedex thing, and there are like these tasks you have to do where it's like catch 5 water Pokemon or evolve 3 Pokemon or something like that. But like, it's not the same as it was in Legends Arceus. I much prefer what we saw in Legends Arceus. And they don't seem to be bringing that back, which kind of sucks. That was something that was really fun to me. I never even got to finish it. I wanted to 100% it. I wanted to 100% the Pokedex in that game, but it never happened. So, trying to think. Anything else that I wanted to mention in regards to Legends ZA? I talked about the city already. I guess I didn't fully go into the battle system. I don't really know how much there is to say about it. It's a pretty interesting battle system. It feels more different than any of the other games, which is good, because that's ultimately what I think I wanted from it. I wanted something different. And it's the first time they've really like innovated heavily on the battle system in a long time. And I didn't really like Legends Arceus that much because the battle system just felt very like annoying. It always annoyed me with the trainer battles too. It was kind of underwhelming that there wasn't a lot of trainer battles, but it was also a good thing there wasn't a lot of trainer battles, because I think that really would have showcased the flaws of the combat. I think that's why they did that. Because there were a lot of moments, especially in the Volo fight, where it's like, you kill their Pokemon, and then they just kill you. They just kill your Pokemon. And then you just kill their Pokemon. It's like this constant kind of thing where it just feels like a back and forth constantly, which I guess in a sense you could say is a good thing. But it's like I want a back and forth Pokemon battle to be, to feel like there is agency and not just, oh, okay, it's my turn. Oh, okay, it's your turn to knock me out. Okay, it's my turn to knock you out, like that sort of thing. That doesn't feel fun to me. I like when there is some real agency, and it felt like there really wasn't in Legends Arceus that much. That game wasn't really meant to do many trainer battles, so yeah. So not a huge fan of that, but I do really respect what they've done with this game, because I feel like this game feels very different and very fun. So that is going to be a really... Fuck, I have 18 minutes to do this small while. Oh my god, it's been long. Jeez. I was gonna try to make this like 20 minutes. That didn't happen. But yeah, basically to sum things up, so far I'm really enjoying this game, and I feel like they did a pretty fucking good job. I'll have to see long term how things play out with this game. But I think at the moment, I'm feeling pretty good about it, and I'm actually excited to play more of it. Which I haven't really been excited for many games in a while. So it's nice to be excited for, a video game for the first time in a while. I guess technically Black Ops 7 will be decently exciting. But I don't know. So I guess that's where I'm going to end things off. Probably will make a future video fully like delving into Legends ZA when I get more time, but between work and then tomorrow is the Mega Rayquaza day, which when you're watching this it'll probably be on the day of the Mega Rayquaza day. But yeah, gonna be playing that, so that means I miss out on playing more Legends ZA before work. But I will do my best to play more when I'm not doing other things. But so far, I think it is definitely worth buying. Even though there's a lot of tutorials and hand-holdiness and all that. But I'm sure that'll stop eventually, so. But, yeah, I guess that's it.